After the collapse of the Dutch East India Company in 1799, Indonesia didn't find freedom. It found a new master, the Dutch Monarchy. The crown took direct control, turning what was once a corporate colony into a full-fledged imperial one. And with that shift came a new kind of rhetoric, one that claimed the Dutch weren't just ruling for profit, but for the moral uplift of the native people. It was called the ethical policy, a 20th century rebranding of colonialism. Dutch officials claimed they would now invest in education, infrastructure, and the well-being of Indonesians. But behind the speeches and school buildings was a brutal truth. This policy was only introduced after centuries of bleeding the archipelago dry. By the time the Dutch began preaching ethical rule, they had already dismantled indigenous governance, devastated agriculture, and erased countless local traditions. Worse still, under the Cultivation System, 1830-1870, Indonesian peasants were forced to grow export crops, coffee, sugar, indigo, on land they once used to feed their families. They were required to sell a portion of their harvest to the colonial government at below-market prices, effectively reducing entire villages to state-sponsored serfdom. In Java alone, it's estimated that up to 1/5 of cultivable land was seized for this system. The profits? Shipped to the Netherlands. It's said that the Dutch paid off national debts and financed major infrastructure in Europe from the wealth drained from Indonesia. And while Europe celebrated its progress, famine swept through Java. In 1840s and 1850s, millions suffered, many died, not because food was unavailable, but because it was being exported. So much for ethics. In the next section, we'll look at how resistance grew, how Indonesians, despite centuries of brutality, found new voices and leaders who would rise to reclaim their future.